Was there a massive Joe Biden cancer cover-up? That is just one of the many questions and controversies that have stemmed from the news that the former president was just diagnosed with cancer, with his office yesterday releasing a statement saying, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer characterized by a Gleason score of 9, grade group 5, with metastasis to the bone. And then adding, while this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The president and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. And so to put that into more layman's terms, metastasis means that the cancer is spread from its initial site, so in Biden's case, from his prostate to his bones. And then Gleason score, it means that the cancer is more likely to grow and spread. And so with that, naturally, we've seen people sharing condolences, including Kamala Harris and Barack Obama, who wish for a speedy recovery and added that Biden will fight this challenge head on. You even had some on the right playing nice, with Trump saying that he was saddened by the news and sending well wishes to the Biden family. I mean, hell, Marjorie Taylor Greene even seemingly found whatever pills she needed and put her muzzle back on and calling cancer truly awful and saying she'd pray for his family. And today you had Biden thanking everyone who sent him messages of support. But also, part of the news we've been seeing is that not everyone's messages were supportive. You had a ton of people focusing on Biden's health as it related to his hopes to hold on to political office, with, for example, USA Today writing that his diagnosis underscored growing questions and, among some top Democrats, anger about his initial decision to run for re-election despite signs of physical frailty and the reality of advanced age. Especially since in another timeline or universe, maybe Biden stayed in the race and even won, and he'd just be a few months into his new term with a cancer diagnosis. Right? And this notably comes as Democrats have already been having to deal with claims that Biden and his team were trying to cover up his ailing health. With some also questioning the timing of this announcement, because there's a new book titled Original Sin that's coming out this week, which is about President Biden's decline, its cover-up, and his disastrous choice to run again. Right, in the news that he has cancer has now added fuel to that fire. And it was actually something that Vice President J.D. Vance touched on while talking to reporters this morning.
We really do need to be honest about whether the former president was capable of doing the job. I don't think he was able to do a good job for the American people. And that's not politics. That's not because I disagreed with him on policy. That's because I don't think that he was in good enough health. In some ways, I blame him less than I blame the people around him. And why didn't the American people have a better sense of his health picture? Why didn't the American people have more accurate information about what he was actually dealing with? This is serious stuff. We can pray for good health, but also recognize that if you're not in good enough health to do the job, you shouldn't be doing the job.
Right, and also with that, we've seen many speculating that maybe Biden actually learned of his cancer while he was in office and hid it. And that, in part, because you have folks like one urologist telling News Nation that given the kind of medical care that Biden received in office, he could have known that he had this for a while. Also connected, but really separate from that, you had Donald Trump Jr. questioning when Biden found out about his cancer in a post that also seemingly took a shot at Jill Biden's doctorate in education. With him writing, what I want to know is, how did Dr. Jill Biden miss stage 5 metastatic cancer, or is this yet another cover-up? With that post then sparking backlash of its own from people who noted that it's pretty common information that Dr. Jill Biden is not a medical doctor, with many also calling Trump Jr. vile and rude for responding to Biden's cancer with this kind of rhetoric. But also here we saw general pushback to anyone that's been focusing on cover-up allegations and speculations, with the likes of Meghan McCain, for example, writing, I don't know if it's just my bias or background, but I don't want to hear anything else about Biden's health cover-up, tell-alls, interviews with staff, etc. Let the Biden family be in peace right now. This is all just so sad and imprudent. And this, as you had others countering claims that Biden may have actually known for a while, with, for example, one medical oncologist at Johns Hopkins telling the Washington Post that it would not be surprising if previous prostate exams failed to show cancer indications as a better test is needed. But then even, all of that, it's just one slice of the backlash that this news has created. Because among other things, you had some people mocking Biden and his illness, or guessing how long he has left. You also had others who disagreed with Biden's policies, just refusing to show any sympathy or rooting for the cancer. For example, journalist Taylor Lorenz getting some heat for writing things like, hopefully he rots in hell and rests in piss, and saying Democrats have zero sympathy for the countless people Biden harmed and killed during his administration, but want to act like his cancer diagnosis means he's beyond critique for those actions. And that, as you had other commentators in the space like Hassan Piker facing backlash for joking about the news by, for example, sharing a headline about Biden's cancer diagnosis and writing, he's running in 2028, with him then later adding the mainstream media is already actively laundering the reputation of a war criminal who oversaw the genocide of Palestinians whose selfish nature allowed Trump to win a second term. Joe Biden is an awful monster. Prostate cancer doesn't change that. And so with that, while you had some supporting their words, you had many slamming what Taylor and Hassan said and thinking that it's insensitive to post comments like, like that at this time, with some reacting with takes like Marjorie Taylor Greene prays for Joe Biden's cancer recovery while Hassan Piker gloats and celebrates. As well as, maybe let's not play partisan games with a cancer diagnosis, okay? Joe Biden is a public servant. He deserves an opportunity to rest, be with his family, and have a fighting chance at recovery. Just be normal and pray for him. With all that said, as this news is playing out on several different fronts in several different ways, I gotta ask you, where are you landing right now? Right? I mean that whether it be the timing of this announcement in relation to the big book release, the controversy and speculation around did or did they not know before this announcement, as well as, just all the different reactions to this news, whether it be people sad and saying, leave the Bidens alone, or those that are celebrating and mocking. Any and all thoughts you have on that, I'd love to see in those comments down below, and we may talk about it more on tomorrow's comment commentary. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil, or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple, no coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil, or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.